Some Nationals fans aren't too happy with the way that the Nationals approached yesterday's trade deadline, but I can tell you this, the Nationals, they made the right decision to sell off Betts.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And while you're at it, make sure to search up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, including over on YouTube. Again, just search Locked On Nationals. If you're over on YouTube, you may see I have a different background today. It is because we have had Wi-Fi issues at the Clary household, so we make do and move over to our secondary studio. So, we'll, if you can see that, you might be wondering, where's all your Nat stuff? Well, guess what? It's not here today. So, if you're listening, you can check that out over on YouTube. Maybe you like the background, maybe you don't. Whatever you want, I will be happy with. Later on in the show today, we will be discussing why did they not trade Kyle Finnegan? And I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm not happy about it. I am not happy about the Nationals not trading away Kyle Finnegan. So I'll discuss that and tell you why I'm not happy about that a little bit later on. And of course, second segment of today, 3 prospects to look forward to in the second half of the Washington Nationals. So with the Nationals moves, you've got 3 guys, in my opinion, that I think will be making an impact. And I will tell you this, some of these guys could be up in the majors relatively soon. So you're going to want to look out for these 3 names here in the second half. As the Nationals, they've got some openings now. So we'll discuss that a little bit later on. But we start off discussing why the Nationals and Mike Rizzo, they did what's best for this organization. Simple as that. When we talk about the Nationals in 2024, they started off at one point, they were in the wild card race. Sitting here today, and after last night's just awful loss with Patrick Corbin just going out there and getting crushed, that is really the preview of the second half. This is what we should expect. The Nationals now, going forward, if you have any expectations for this team, I would say limit them. The expectations that you should be looking for are individual performances. You should be looking at what C.J. Abrams does, what Keibert Ruiz does, what Mackenzie Gore does. See if Jake Irvin can return back to form. See if Mitchell Parker and DJ Hers really take that step up that we have been waiting for since they've gotten up to the major leagues. That is the progress that we are looking for. If you are expecting wins in the second half, I don't know what to tell you. I can tell you this, though. The Nationals aren't going to be playing competitive baseball. They just aren't. And I'm here to tell you that is just fine. Last year, the Nationals were not a good team. I believe they were the 5th worst team in all of baseball, losing 91 games, only winning 71 in 2023. They took the steps up from being the worst team in baseball in 2022, trading away your future all-star Hall of Fame type player with Juan Soto in the year prior. But I'm here to tell you right now that the Nationals did the right thing by selling off. You have to continue to build for your future. You need all these different kinds of waves of prospects. And when people say waves of prospects, think of it this way. You kind of had your first wave already. It's C.J. Abrams, Keibert Ruiz, Josiah Gray, Mackenzie Gore. That's kind of the first wave of this rebuild. A lot of those guys, C.J. Abrams, who was just an all-star, Josiah Gray, who was an all-star last year, that's your first wave of prospects. That is kind of the foundation of what you will be building for a future franchise, future winning franchise, rather. And then you want your second wave, your Brady House, James Wood, Dylan Cruz. That is a very good second wave of prospects who will be coming in the door here, hopefully momentarily. And then you have your third wave. You have your Seaver King. You've got your Luke Dickerson. You've got Caleb Lomavita. You've got name that prospect coming down the road, whether it be your new pitching prospect, Alex Clemmy, that you just acquired in the Lane Thomas trade. You've got a lot of different pieces. In the Nationals, at this trade deadline, Mike Rizzo saw what this organization needed. He saw that we need to have more future prospects in order to help us to win down the road. That is why he did this sell-off. Because you now have guys. You do have pieces now. You've got Tana, who's now should be in the big leagues, hopefully within the next few weeks. If he isn't already in the bigs, maybe by tomorrow. You have other waves of prospects coming in. Luke Dickerson, your second-round pick you signed to a signing bonus record after the first round. 18, 19-year-old kid. You've got Travis Sikora as well, who is pitching his butt off down in the major and down in Fredericksburg, who should be up in Wilmington. Andrew Lara, Harleen Susanna. If you look at the prospect rankings, or even in just the minor league system as a whole, the Nationals are in a completely different stratosphere than what they were just 2 years ago when they were one of the worst farm systems in all of baseball. You had to continue to sell. The Nationals, the reason why you had that long run of success for nearly a decade from 2012 all the way through 2019, yeah, they did have a top 10 payroll most of that time. But also beyond that, you had prospects coming up in waves. That is what Mike Rizzo is building right now. And it starts with trading away your veteran pieces who may not be right here, right now, ready to help this team down the road. You had to trade your Jesse Winker. You had to trade Lane Thomas, in my opinion. Now, if someone's going to give you a bucket of baseballs, figuratively speaking, for Lane Thomas, yeah, probably not the correct decision to do that. But you got three pretty decent prospects through the door. Two 19-year-olds, one who just turned 19, by the way, with Clemmy, the left-handed pitcher, who I am very excited about, and the other with Rafael Ramirez Jr., who has a lot of different tools, but he's a little raw. You've got a couple guys now coming in different ways. And again, the Nationals, you need this. This is what good organizations do. This is what the Tampa Bay Rays do. This is what the Padres have done in years past, and see where they are today. Some people might not be excited about the future. And if you're one of those people, I'm here to tell you you're wrong. You should be absolutely thrilled about this Nationals future. You should be. Trading away your veterans like Lane Thomas and Jesse Winker and Dylan Floro were the correct decisions. There was one incorrect decision, though, of this trade deadline. And that was not trading away veteran closer, all-star closer, Kyle Finnegan. I'll explain that in the third segment of today's show, but you'll hear about that. I promise you. But now going forward, the Nats are in a much better place than what they were just a few weeks ago. You now have these lottery type of prospects in which some of them turn into Yordan Alvarez. You think of it this way. A few years ago, or really way longer than a few years ago, the Los Angeles Dodgers once had a very young 18-year-old O'Neal Cruz, who is now an all-star kind of shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then one of the best left-handed hitters in all of baseball with Yordan Alvarez. They traded away both those pieces, O'Neal Cruz to the Pirates and Yordan Alvarez to the Houston Astros. Those were lottery ticket kind of guys. I'm not saying Jose Tena will be that. I'm not saying Rafael Ramirez Jr. will be that. But I can tell you this, you have a chance of having your own kind of newborn talent here in DC. So selling off your veteran pieces, guys who may not help you at this moment in time, or who may be helping you at this moment in time, but may not in the future, that is what good organizations do. You know when to pull the plug. And in my opinion, Mike Rizzo, he pulled the plug at the perfect time possible for this organization. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So later on in today's show, I'm going to tell you why I'm not happy about the Nationals not trading away Kyle Finnegan. But more importantly, you've got 3 prospects you're going to want to keep an eye on. I'm going to tell you this right now. It ain't Dylan Cruz, and it ain't Brady House. I'll tell you who those 3 prospects are, who, in my opinion, will be helping up the Nationals in the big leagues pretty soon here. Before we do that, though, let me tell you guys about our friends over at Prize Picks. And guys, we talk about Prize Picks, and you know that Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. And if you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has got you covered every week, from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. And Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, Georgia, and of course, my home state, Virginia, which you may be in, but you may not be in, but you could be all around the coast. I can tell you this, Prize Picks has got you covered. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And next segment, guys, why did we not trade Kyle Finnegan? I don't understand the thinking process behind not moving on with him. I'll explain that, because to be honest, I think we might overrate Kyle Finnegan just a little bit. I'll explain that a little bit later on in today's show, though. But we've got 3 prospects now to look forward to. And it's not Dylan Cruz. It's not Brady House. It's not your big-time prospects that you may know about. But these guys have been very impactful in this organization. So my #1 prospect to look forward to sitting here today is Zach Brixey. Zach Brixey is a name that you may have heard coming out of Virginia Tech in the 2020 MLB draft. He would have been drafted, but if you remember, that MLB draft was cut to about 5 rounds. So Zach Brixey went undrafted. He probably would have been a 6th, 7th round pick if I had to guess. But all this guy has done is shove down in the minor leagues. Looking back to really last year in spring training, he got shut down and had Tommy John surgery, so he missed his entire 2023 season, started back up this year, and he has been very good. So far, he's got 19 appearances across rookie ball, high A, and he's now camping in Double A right now, where he's looking pretty good as well. So far this season, though, he's only got 22 1/3 innings pitched, and again, 19 appearances. But in those 22 1/3 innings pitched, yes, his walk rate is very high right now, and that is always what I'm concerned about. He's walking right around 4.5 guys per 9 innings, and when you're a bullpen guy, that's a lot. But on the other hand, he's got 12 strikeouts per 9. Zach Brixey is one of those guys, in my opinion, where if he were to make his debut with the Nationals in the next month or so, I think he could establish himself as a potential back-end bullpen guy. Now, it's going to take some time. This is not going to help and really help this team overnight. But I do think down the road, with guys like Jose Ferrer, who's already in the Nationals back end of the bullpen, with guys like Zach Brixey, He does have a fastball that can ride up into the upper 90s, but let's see what he can do and let's see if this is sustainable after Tommy John surgery, because we have seen it kind of crush some guys in years past, which it has done for many pitchers out there in baseball. But if Zach Brixey is as good as his numbers say that he is, which, by the way, across 3 different seasons, he's got a 3.27 ERA, he's got 146 innings pitched across those 3 minor league levels. And again, he's striking out guys at a pretty elite clip, 13 strikeouts per 9 innings across his 3 minor league levels, across 3 different seasons. That is pretty damn good, whichever way you look at it. So now going forward with the Nationals, look at Zach Brixey and keep an eye out for him. I'm telling you right now, I think this guy could be legit for this Nationals team. Another bullpen guy, someone who just recently cracked the top 30 for this organization, Orlando Rebalta, 2019 12th rounder. He is 26 years old. This guy has really kind of taken a step up going into this year. Again, he is 26 years old, a little bit older. But if you think back to last season, Jake Irvin made his debut at 26 years old. And Jake Irvin had Tommy John surgery, so he probably would have been up a little bit sooner. Orlando Rebalta, though, is going to be one of those bullpen pieces where I am very intrigued with as we sit here today. In this season, across AA and AAA, he has been very good, in my opinion. He doesn't have the strikeout numbers that you know who has, Zach Brixey, down in AA or single A or across all 3 levels, because he just isn't a strikeout kind of pitcher. But he does possess those talents. He was striking out 16 guys per 9 innings down in AA this year before getting the promotion up to AAA Rochester. 16 guys per 9 innings. Think about that for a second. That is absurd. Absolutely absurd. He made the jump to AAA Rochester, and he's only striking out 10.5 per 9. And that is really where he's kind of buttering his bread right now. He's having a solid season in AAA, but still, I think his stuff does play. And again, the Nationals, you need bullpen help right now. Going forward, we all know what the Nationals need. You know they need a first baseman of the future. You know you need help over at third base. You know you may need an extra outfielder to help you down the road. But you really need bullpen help. I think Orlando Rebalta could be one of those guys where you never really hear about him. You don't really know too much about him. But he comes in and makes a very big impact in this bullpen. In my opinion, I think he will be the first one up into the majors of Zach Brixey and himself. And that's what probably should happen, by the way. This guy has come in. He has played very well. Often you can talk about all his different good metrics and his stats. But ultimately, the results show for themselves. This guy's going to be an impact kind of player, and I think he can get that done up in the major leagues. But there is a third prospect that we have talked about a lot in this show, a starting pitcher, someone who's really just kind of come out of nowhere. His name is Brad Lord. We've talked about Brad Lord, the 18th round pick back in 2022 at a USF. He is 24 years old. He's gone from Wilmington to Harrisburg to Rochester. And he has dominated basically at every single level so far. On the season, he's got a 2.05 ERA in 19 starts, 105 1/3 innings pitched, and 108 strikeouts to go with that. What has really been impressive for him, though, is with all these innings pitched, again, 105 innings on the season, he's got 9 strikeouts per 9 and only 3 walks per 9. Now, 3 walks per 9, it's not a crazy level of good, but for a 24-year-old who's still kind of stepping into his own game, that is pretty impressive. So when I look at Brad Lord, we know about the starting rotation right now. You've got your DJ Hurts, Mitchell Parker, Jake Irvin, Mackenzie Gore, Cade Cavalli down the road, and others as well who will be helping this team. But Brad Lord is going to fit in there some way, somehow. I do think he makes his major league debut maybe sometime this September if an injury happens of some sort. Because that's always going to be the case. That's always going to be in play at this moment in time. And it has to be, by the way. Maybe the Nats decide to go to a six-man rotation and take out Patrick Corbin and throw in Brad Lord in there. When Trevor Williams is healthy, who knows what they do with him at this moment in time. But you've got your pieces right here and right now that can help you. And that is why I think Brad Lord could be one of those guys who steps in this rotation and maybe pitches a lot better than what you may think. So we'll see what the Nats do. I kind of like where they're headed, though. And you kind of have to think the future is pretty damn bright. Now let's talk about Kyle Finnegan, though. What were the Nationals thinking not moving him? Why did you not trade him? We'll discuss that after we tell you guys about our friends over at SupplyHouse. And guys, we talk about SupplyHouse, and you can get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades at SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. I'm upset. Why did the Nationals not trade Kyle Finnegan yesterday? Did you not see what relievers were going for at this year's trade deadline? Did you not see what the Miami Marlins, who put on a clinic at the trade deadline yesterday, do? What are you doing? Now, I understand that Mike Rizzo, he's very good at his job. Still one of the best executives in all of baseball. I understand that. How can you not look around the room, though, and see the Miami Marlins getting all these top prospects for guys who are better than Kyle Finnegan? How did you not try and trade away Finney? Now, obviously, the Nationals were shopping him. He admitted that in his press conference yesterday. He talked about it this morning on with the Junkies. But you can't tell me that Kyle Finnegan is going to help this team down the road more than what a trade return would be for him right now. I would be very interested to see what teams are offering for your all-star closer. I trust in Rizzo to make the right decision, but also on the other hand of this discussion is, why did you not trade him? Even if it wasn't quote-unquote market value for him, let's be honest. Kyle Finnegan is good, but he is very replaceable. I always think back to this, and I think this is a very interesting discussion to have. People are talking about, well, you can't replace Kyle Finnegan. You can't replace Hunter Harvey. Guys, right after 2019, when the Nationals won the World Series, Mike Rizzo signed some guy named Kyle Finnegan out of the minor leagues, gave him a major league contract. He became that all-star closer today. Hunter Harvey, just a few years ago, claimed them off waivers, became one of the best setup guys in the National League for quite some time now. I have faith in Mike Rizzo finding these replacements. He has done it. He has shown that he has done it. And even then, you've got young pitchers like guys that we just talked about. Zach Brixey, Orlando Rebalta, someone who's already up in the majors with Jose Ferrer. I don't understand the thinking process behind not shopping Kyle Finnegan at this deadline. It did not make sense to me. And it still does not, by the way. So next year, if the Nationals, if we are good, and if the Nationals are actually competing, and if they flip that switch from being sellers to buyers, then we'll see what we do. But you could have sold him at a pretty premier price, and I don't know what teams were offering. I don't know what we would have gotten in return. But I think it's safe to say you would have gotten a semi-elite prospect, in which we don't have right now. And for a team that's still in a rebuild, you need prospects. You need guys to help you out. When we were talking about this earlier on in the conversation, you need those waves of prospects. And I think we kind of got that taken away from us, in which maybe wasn't the best thing to do. So why did the Nationals not trade Kyle Finnegan? I couldn't tell you. The bright side of it, you do have an all-star closer, and hopefully he does take a next step up. But I think one of the best-kept secrets here in DC is Kyle Finnegan. He's not going to be a closer down the road. He is a solid one, but I think he's very replaceable. And I don't know if people love to hear that, but that's just the truth. He's got fine stuff. He's got a fastball that rides up in the upper 90s, but he's replaceable. That's why I think the Nationals should have moved on from this deadline, from your all-star closer. So thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Tomorrow's show, we'll get back to regular scheduled programming as we'll talk about this hideous Diamondback series. The Nationals just continue to get pummeled day in and day out. We'll see what the Nats can do today, as it's a day game over on the West Coast in the desert of Arizona. So we'll discuss that on tomorrow's show. Let's get a win, boys. I'll catch you on the flip side. Have a good one.